this rule that got passed late in the owners' meeting, and now there's going to be a couple more days to try and put more meat on the bones here with the membership meeting again, about lowering your helmet and initiating contact, and that being a foul right away. And that could include running back trying to score, could include offensive lineman trying to block, could include quarterback trying to sneak. I mean, what can you tell fans or anybody about this rule? Your thoughts on it, John?
Well, I can tell you that, I was in that room. It was the head coaches, general managers, and owners all in there, along with the competition committee and, of course, Commissioner Goodell. And it was a spirited discussion, a long discussion, a passionate discussion on both sides. And really, there's not sides because everybody wants this game to be safer. But how you implement something like this, it sounds great, but how do you actually go about and do it? And I think that's one thing. I know they're meeting here the next couple days, and they've made great progress in terms of defining the rule. But they kind of agreed that there should be a rule, but it's still. I think they're still figuring out exactly how to implement it. I know that the sentiment was we want to have a better version of what's been happening in college. The one thing I did stand up and say, during that meeting is, college football, while safety obviously is the absolute paramount motivation of everybody, college football for me became somewhat unwatchable last year with the targeting rule. And a game gets going, you stop it for 15 minutes to look at every angle. Did some part of his head? I think it should be for the egregious ones, and I think. As a player, you always knew when somebody was out of line in terms of the way they were playing the game. And, I think as we continue to learn things, yes, we have to address this. But we have to also know that we play a physical sport, and that's part of the allure of it, and people sign up knowing that. And so it's a touchy issue. I don't think anyone has the perfect answer, but we're all striving to try to find how we can best do that.
Now, obviously, player safety is paramount, John. We all know it, and I agree with you. My concern is we've finally fixed the catch rule, okay? Yeah. Where fans know if the ultimate concept of 15 men and women are in a bar and a catch looks like a catch. If everybody thinks it's a catch, it should be a catch. I think we finally achieved that. Now, if we're going to start saying a hit might not be a hit, like what's a hit? Can a hit survive the intent? That's that's a slippery slope to go down. And I was chatting on the air live with the commissioner prior to the draft, and mentioned how Richard Sherman thinks this is going to lead to more lower extremity injuries, and he bristled. But you're a former defensive back. I mean, don't you think this is going to limit the ability of a defensive back to know where to target and what to hit here?
I've had those concerns. I do think that players evolve, and I think the good thing is we've seen players adjust their play. And they feel like it needs to go a step further. I just think you better walk a careful line in terms of not taking the football out of football, so to speak. I think Rich, what I believe is that the most important steps, as I now get to see it, and this was kind of quiet with the rule out there. The Players Association and the NFL came together and they've eliminated certain helmets. They now have research, and for years that was my deal. You can talk about taking the head out of the game and all that, but your head is attached to your body, and people are moving very fast. And so I think the emphasis on that has been great. I think much more important and worthwhile has been the emphasis on the technology. When you pump money and resources into the technology, from the time I played when I was 8 years old to the time I stopped playing when I was 37, the helmets didn't change at all. And now you're starting to see this new line of helmets that they've really put a lot of thought and science and resources into. I think that's going to make it a much safer game. The rules as well, and I commend everyone for wanting to find an answer. I just think, like you said, is like how do you find that perfect answer? Are there going to be some growing pains? I know there will be.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.